Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, the number 2 podcast after us, because we're the number 1 podcast. I'm the Board Game Guru, Game Master Extraordinaire, and confused intro maker, Johannanon.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse Drew Munhausen, and welcome to episode 130 of Fresh Out the Podcast. Sorry, there was a little bit of delay in between episodes. The last time we recorded was actually the night before 4th of July, and so then naturally due to the holiday, I wasn't able to get the episode edited and up until a few days after. I think like it went up on maybe Sunday after, and then we had planned not to do an episode that following week because the episode went up and we wouldn't have been able to record anyway. At least I wouldn't have been able to record anyway because I didn't have power due to Hurricane Beryl. So it's been a little bit of a ride.
Hurricane Beryl was quite the experience. Yeah, it wasn't crazy, but it knocked out power for all of Houston for a long time, and I personally was one of the lucky few. We kept power. But my job
so you never
was without
lost
power. We never lost power at my house. Not a single.
Wow.
It didn't even blink, which was crazy because we have lost power in the past. So, but my work did. My work was without power for the entire week, so I was at home all week, and so I got to play and watch lots of things that we're going to talk about today.
See, that is probably best case scenario for a bad situation.
Yep, best case. Yeah, I felt bad, man, because like my family owns a restaurant, right? And so the restaurant was without power. So my dad brought a bunch of the food home to put in our like big freezer and fridge that we have in the garage. And so I'm sitting here with power, no work, playing games, eating prime rib and chocolate mousse from the restaurant. And everyone else is like giving these horror stories. And I'm like, man, I feel so guilty about not having struggle right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, we lost power around 5:30 in the morning during the intensity of the storm. And, that day, the storm passed pretty quickly for us, right? Like by noon, it was pretty much done. So then you're just sitting there without power. Luckily, the storm had brought in some cooler winds and things, so the house wasn't super hot or anything without AC that day, at least. Like it was actually pretty tolerable all morning, and then as it got into the afternoon, it started to heat up, and that became challenging. I borrowed a generator from a friend. As I've said on here, I have a 4-month-old child, and so we have a freezer full of breast milk that we're storing. And so I needed a generator just to be able to run that freezer because we didn't want to lose it all. So that was taxing. We spent one night at home in the hot house without power, and luckily my parents got power back the next day. So they were only without for about 24 hours. So we pretty much packed in, moved in with them on Tuesday, the day after the storm, and then stayed there. We didn't get power back in our house till late Thursday evening. So I didn't get to watch much or do anything because I couldn't at my house, and then then you're not at your home and you can't do things. I didn't have my video game consoles. I pretty much had my MacBook, and that was about it, and I just really didn't get a chance to watch things. It was a very difficult time. Very difficult.
Yeah, see, man, I feel bad. Because that's a very typical story in Houston for the past week, and like I know some people that still don't have power.
Yeah, I also do. It's tough.
It's crazy, man. But hey, it's getting back at it. No thanks to the governing bodies around here. But hey, we're making do. Houston has been through this before, and will be through it again, probably this year. So, haha.
Yeah, we typically at our house. We've always joked that if the wind blows too hard, we lose power, because we lose power at our house pretty frequently when there's storms, but it always comes back really fast, so it's not a problem. This time there were literally 4 or 5 electrical poles that were just totally demolished, like broken in half, fallen totally down right outside our neighborhood. Yeah. And those first full days after the storm, there's just no action, no movement at all for anybody to clean it up, and anything from Center Point, which that's a recurring theme around Houston the past week. But finally on Thursday, the cavalry showed up and they replaced the poles with all new poles. So I'm hoping that as a silver lining in the future, when there's more storms, I'm hoping that these poles hold up better. But maybe that's wishful thinking.
Hopefully they didn't replace them with cheaper poles. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's some notoriety for quick fixes around here with these things just to get people back up and running and then just leaving it. But I hope that's not the case.
Yes, sir. That is definitely a theme around here. But hey, we'll be okay, I think. Also, I feel like we should probably address the elephant in the room, huh, Drew? So, I'm sure many of you viewers have noticed Gary hasn't been in the past few podcasts, and he's not here today. He's taking a hiatus from the podcast. He'll still be on the streaming side of things and doing tabletop role-playing games, but he just hasn't been able to commit to this, and, hopefully that'll change in the future. But for now, he'll be sitting out of this indefinitely. So, yeah, sorry to see you go, Gary, but hopefully we'll see you back. So,
life comes first. I always say that's always the priority, and so
Yes, sir.
sometimes you just got to prioritize life.
life
Is what it is.
comes
That being
first.
said, if you're a friend of ours, if you're a friend of the show, if you're a friend of Fresh Out the Box, and maybe you're interested, you got something you want to talk about, and you need a platform to do it, reach out to us. Reach out to me and Jahan. Maybe you can come on. If we like you. If we don't like you, maybe we'll tell you to go away. But if we do like you, maybe you can come on talk about stuff.
I'm looking
with us.
forward
Who
to telling
knows?
people to go away. But yeah, no, definitely reach out. We'll probably have some guests on to fill the empty space that was left by Gary. Moment of silence.
Indeed.
Okay.
Is that a long enough moment? Is that good?
Yeah, that was good. I mean, he's not dead.
So-
It's fine.
Right. Hopefully he listens to the show. I hope that in his absence, he chooses to become a listener.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. Hi, Gary.
Yeah, hey Gary. So talking about the hurricane of it all and being without power and being without things, it got me thinking. So, you know me, I'm pretty obsessive about certain things, and especially my movie-going habits, and I'm always plugging Letterboxd, right? Because I watch movies, I log them on Letterboxd, I can see what I watched, what day I watched it, what I rated it, because I'm a giant nerd. And now, on my Letterboxd diary where I log what movies I'm watching, there's a gap. I watched something July 4th, didn't log something again until July 12th. That's an 8-day gap for me.
Oh, my God.
I don't go 8 days without watching a movie very often, at all. Even if I'm on vacation, I'm like, I'd be out of the country and I'm probably going to watch a movie in my downtime. And this time I didn't. And this was not a voluntary break from movies. It was a matter of circumstance. And I missed watching movies at that time. But it got me thinking how sometimes with your passions and hobbies, you just do need to take a breather and walk away. I feel like the thing that I do that the most with this video games, like especially if I've just spent, 100 hours playing some super deep RPG, I finally beat it. I'm like, I'm done with it. I need a break. Either A, I won't play video games for a bit, or B, if I do play something, it's going to be a really small indie game that you can beat pretty quickly. That's kind of like a rinse, or a detox, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
But how about you? Do you ever feel the need to take breaks from your hobbies? And I feel like you're a good person to ask this as somebody that runs a stream where you do stream tabletop RPG games
Bruh.
every week. Like, is that something you ever feel like I just need a break? Or can you consistently do that, but maybe you need a break from games, video games, board games? You ever feel like you just need a break from the hobbies you love the most?
I've been the game master fresh out the box for like 4 years now, and we do about 2 to 3 streams a week for the past 4 years. Really haven't taken much time off. The burnout is real. It comes and goes. Usually what I do is I'll take a show out of rotation for a while, or just miss a couple, because you have to do what you have to do. When it comes to hobbies, though, the one that usually suffers for me, I used to be a very avid reader. I used to read a book every few days to once a week, like a whole book, just finish it, more or less casually. And now I hardly ever read. And so that's the one that I put down, and then when I pick it up, like I just disappear into it and I read and read and read. But then I put it down again. So that's the one for me that comes and goes. I was actually thinking today, like how I got all these paints back here for model painting. I haven't painted in a while. And I'm like, man, my paints are gonna go bad because I haven't been doing that either. I'm a man of many hobbies. So it's just like, like I like 3D printing, I like painting minis, I like playing games, reading, writing, all kinds of stuff. I'm always doing it. So the answer is yes. I constantly get burnt out, put down a hobby, pick up another one, switch them out. I feel like that's normal and fine. I feel like, if it's not doing what it used to for you, maybe put it down until it's fresh again, and then, come back to it later.
Yeah, you mentioned reading. That's probably the big one for me also, because I really do love to read. And especially, every now and then I'll still do it. Like, I'll still find a book where I'm like, oh, Martin Scorsese's making a movie of Killers of the Flower Moon. I want to read the book. And I flew through the book in like 3 days. So it still happens every now and then. But to your point, it's like, man, when I'm done with work and done parenting, the kids are in bed, and I've got a few hours to kill before I go to bed, and I have movies I want to watch, I have TV shows I want to catch up on, I have video games I want to play, I have books I want to read. Books are usually at the bottom of that totem pole, right? That's like I'm going to do probably any of the other three things before I read a book, unfortunately. Or I tell
100%.
myself I'm going to watch TV or watch movies until, say 10 o'clock or 10:30. Then I can read for 30 minutes or an hour when I go to bed. The problem with that is that when I get in bed and I open the book, I get 2 pages in and, the eyes get heavy and
Yeah.
start dropping lid and I'm done. I'm done so. So it's tough because I do love to read. It's definitely the hobby that takes lowest priority, I think, compared to the other ones. Video games are the ones that are really easy for me to pick up when I have that downtime, and I can just play it endlessly, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I need to go to sleep. Like I've been up for way too long.
Lately, I've been back into Hades on the Switch because it's an easy one to pick up and put down. So like that, you do a run and you're done, and so games like that are really good for when you're trying to game but don't have time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to get too in the weeds about it, but I didn't really know you were a big reader. What's your genre?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've had some friends trying to get me. So here's the thing. I love things like The Lord of the Rings, right? I love Stephen King books. Those are kind of go-tos for me. I'm not breaking any new ground here by saying these types of things. Like these are, comfort
Hey man, they're classics
go-tos.
for a reason, man.
I'm on Book Talk a little bit now with TikTok, and the fantasy books are what comes up. Like you get really big fantasy readers on TikTok recommending the things to read, and we have some close friends that we talk to regularly that are big fans of the Brandon Sanderson
the
books
Stormlight
and,
Archive,
the Stormlight Archive and everything. And I actually picked up the first book of the Stormlight Archive. I'm gonna forget what it's called. Is it called A Way of King? A Way of Oh gosh, Brandon Sanderson fans, don't come after me here.
He has so many good series. I don't think I've ever read one of his, but I hear good things, and I think they've also gotten me interested in the Stormlight Archive. So,
yeah, I was right. The Way of Kings. So I started reading it probably a little over a year ago now. And those books are notoriously super long. Yeah. They're like 1,000 pages, and it's not like 1,000 pages where you can get through a page quickly. Like they are 1,000 dense pages. And I got through probably about a third of it. Really enjoyed it. I don't have any criticism of it. It's fantastic writing, but I just didn't have the time or capacity. And then all of a sudden, it's like I read 200 of those pages pretty quickly. And then like a month later read another 100 pages, and then it just got too spaced out. And now I'm a year separated. I'm like, do I just jump back in where I was? Do I start it over? I don't know. But I mean, it's pretty dense. So I think with books now, I have to approach it as what is something that I can actively start and finish.
Yeah.
I have Mickey 17 sitting on my shelf right now as one to read before the Bong Joon-ho movie starring Robert Pattinson comes out.
Okay.
I read a lot of movie books now too. I
I
have one that I've really been enjoying called Oscar Wars. It's really good.
Bro, I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan, and like as an adult, I think during the pandemic I read the books, and I was like, man, these are like fantastic. So yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like Michael Crichton books and Jurassic Park, it's like it's a classic, and I feel like, do I need to read the book because I've seen the movie so many times? But I bet you get a lot of new things out of it.
So different. It's very different. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Maybe I'll have to read. I've never read Jurassic.
Well, because
Park.
because in the movies they took out the whole idea of them being bird creatures, because in the books and in real life they are avian ancestors and all that stuff, and they don't touch on that at all in the movies because they felt it would be confusing to the audience. The only time he mentions it is during that scene where he mentions he threatens to kill that kid with the raptor claw because he called it a turkey. But yeah, it's definitely different. It's definitely interesting, and nothing more so than the Lost World. The Lost World is much different from the movie. So
yeah. Another thing too, just a medium. I don't listen to music as much as I used to, and it's because I have so many different podcasts I listen to. Like if I'm driving, I'm usually listening to a podcast. That being said, if there's artists I really like if Coheed comes out with a new album, I listen to it immediately. Like I'll listen to the artists I really like, but I'm rarely, perusing and finding new music on my own. If I'm listening to something, it's probably because it was recommended to me or because it's old.
That's just being old, man. We're just old now. We listen to podcasts and music that people tell us to listen to.
Yeah, I'm like, if I'm gonna find a random playlist, I'm gonna be like 80s rock and just go as cliche as possible. I actually was listening to a playlist on Spotify recently that was millennial dad rock.
Oh boy.
And that playlist was, I mean, it's exactly as advertised, and it was my jam. I'm not proud of it, but boy, did I listen to it.
It put you in your place, huh? You realized a couple things.
Most definitely.
That's funny.
Most definitely.
Oh. Well, hey, that segment is called Getting to Know You with Jahan and Drew. So that was fun. I enjoyed that talk a lot. Maybe we can talk about some books again later, but yeah. Very fun stuff.
Absolutely. Well, I guess we can just go ahead and take the time to jump into Fresh Movies of the Week.
Fresh Movies of the Week. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It looks like these ones go to you, sir. So
I was going to say, I think this is my time to shine. I will start with some new releases. I had a heck of a double feature this past Sunday afternoon, and I sat down and saw Fly Me to the Moon and Longlegs back to back. These are the two newest releases of the week. And I will start with Longlegs because it's actually the second movie I watched in my double feature, but it is the movie that made more money over the weekend, and I think has been a little bit more viral, people talking about it.
Yeah, I've been hearing about this one.
It's described as a horror thriller, really more of a thriller. It's not, there's not like a lot of jump scares or anything in this movie, but the sense of dread you get throughout of it is pretty incredible. It's directed by Osgood Perkins. Worth noting, Oz Perkins is the son of Anthony Perkins, who is the actor who played Norman Bates in Psycho, in the original Psycho. So, like, there are ties to, horror, and Longlegs is a movie that's full of homages to other, to other horror franchises and the things that come before it. But anyways, it is a story of there's a girl who she is an FBI agent, and she gets assigned to this case where there have been multiple murders over the course of 30 years, and in every murder they find a letter signed by a killer named Longlegs. The problem is, in each of these killings, the killings have clearly not been committed by this person calling themselves Longlegs, even though they're involved somehow. The killings have occurred, like, if it's a family, the father killed the rest of the family and then himself. Like it'd be like they're all pretty much like a murder suicide of the family themselves, but this Longlegs is tied to each of them, and it's kind of this mystery that all comes to a head in this movie. And of course, Longlegs is portrayed by Nicolas Cage. In this, Micah Monroe plays Lee Harker, the FBI agent, and it's one where you don't want to say too much because that, I mean, I've already said a lot just laying out the premise, but watching the way the movie unfolds, it's just one that I didn't know where it was going the whole time. So you're kind of on the edge of your seat, but it's also kind of a slow burn, full of dread movie. Nicolas Cage is, of course, super out there as the serial killer that he's playing, and has a very particular kind of glam rock look to him that's pretty fascinating, and it's all very intentional. And I've listened to some interviews with Oz Perkins about this movie and the how and whys of how it came to be, and it's really interesting. But yeah, Longlegs, I would say overall, it's gotten a lot of hype. I did really like it. I wouldn't say I loved it. I like a lot of what they were doing here. I liked the sense of dread that I got. It's just a slow burn, and
Yeah.
it wasn't what I thought it was, but that's not the movie's fault. I enjoyed it for what it was.
How is our boy Nicolas Cage in Longlegs?
He's great. I mean,
Okay.
he's super out there. I like what he's doing. Every time he's on the screen, it's electric. But you only get him in small doses.
That's
in
enough
the
for me,
beginning
man.
until-
I love Nicolas Cage.
yeah. So he's great. So that's Longlegs. It's in theaters now. The other movie that's in theaters now is Fly Me to the Moon. And this one, I'm even more mixed on. So this is another Apple movie. This is an Apple TV or Apple funded movie,
Interesting.
but it's being distributed by Sony. So it's a partnership with Sony. But this movie will eventually end up on Apple TV Plus, but it's exclusively in theaters now. It stars Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum. And there's a whole
Okay.
other cast of character. Ray Romano's in this. Woody Harrelson's in it. Jim Rash, and there's a bunch of people in this movie. And it's directed by Greg Berlanti, who Greg Berlanti is most known, I feel like, in our circle as the producer behind the CW Arrowverse. Like, he did
Okay.
all the CW DC shows. He's behind all those. He's like the executive producer of all of them.
I was a big fan of the Arrowverse, so yeah, cool.
Yeah, Greg Berlanti, like big time producer. But has directed a few movies. The last movie he directed was Love, Simon. I don't know if you saw that one back in 2018
No, sir.
when that came out.
I don't think so.
It's actually pretty good. It's a coming out story of a young gay high schooler. It's actually pretty good. It's like kind of schmaltzy teen comedy, but it's good. So this is a big budget movie. This movie cost $100 million allegedly to make, and it only made like $10 million at the box office this weekend.
Uh-oh.
So not too good. People weren't going to go see this one despite the star power behind it. The plot is it all takes place during the 1960s space race, the lead up to the Apollo 11 launch, and Channing Tatum's character is the like NASA director in charge of the launch. And they bring in Scarlett Johansson's character. She's like a marketing specialist that they bring in to help the image of NASA in the public eye and like market NASA to people and make it more appealing. Because at the time, they're lagging behind the Soviets in the space race. And as part of that, it's all about her like trying to market it. But then they introduce this subplot of, in order to best appeal to the American viewers, they need to make sure the moon landing is seamless, so they want to film a fake moon landing as like the backup should they need to show it should something go wrong, or like as a contingency plan. So like Jim Rash from Community fame plays the eccentric director who's directing the fake moon landing.
It's a good pick.
Yeah, he's very over the top. I think the thing with this movie is it has a lot of subplots. The fake moon landing stuff isn't even really brought into this movie's 2 hours and 12 minutes long. And it's probably about an hour into it before that subplot even becomes a main plot of the movie. And Scarlett Johansson, who I really like in general, I like Scarlett Johansson a lot. But in this, she's playing almost like a con artist of a marketing director, and I found her character to be very grating. And I'm like, man, it stinks because I like Scarlett Johansson, but I don't like this character she's playing. And you kind of get reasoning for why that is at the end of the movie, but for me, it was just a little bit too little, too late. Channing Tatum's fine; he's being Channing Tatum in this, but there were comedy moments that worked. I like space stuff in general, so you have Apollo missions. I'm pretty much on board as it is, but I just feel like this movie was trying to do a lot of different things and only succeeded in some of them. It's overly long, but it's able to kind of ride the coattails of the star power within it. Overall, I thought this was okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of good ingredients here, but they just aren't all integrated perfectly.
Yeah. No, that's yeah. I mean, it happens a lot. So, yeah.
Yeah, like I recommend watch a trailer for this movie when you get a chance. The trailer's very weird, and I feel like even it has a hard time to try to figure out what this movie's trying to be in the trailer. I think the trailer does turn to the fake moon landing a lot, but there's a big portion of the movie where even though that's going on, it's like not even the main plot until they decide to make it the main plot in the climax of the movie. It's just it's very weirdly paced. It's an odd movie, very odd, but it's not bad. I enjoyed it for the most part, but it didn't all work.
If you have Apple Plus, it's worth a watch, but maybe don't go out and see it.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to go see it in theaters, unfortunately. And we've got Twisters coming out this week and Deadpool and Wolverine coming out the week after. So, like, it's not like this movie's going to make a comeback magically in theaters. This is it.
No, not at all.
It'll be available for purchase on Apple TV sooner rather than later, and then eventually streaming on there, just like Napoleon and Killers of the Flower Moon were. But yeah, it's just like when you have it all on paper, you got big movie stars, you've got romance, you've got comedy, you've got space, Apollo missions. It's like that. Like I'm in. That's it, and it just doesn't work as well as you'd want it to. So too bad. So that's Fly Me to the Moon. The only other one I'll mention is on the 4th of July, my wife and I took our 4-year-old daughter to go see Despicable Me 4, which is now currently in theaters and doing really well. Both Longlegs and Fly Me to the Moon came out in theaters this past weekend, but Despicable Me 4 was number 1 at the box office, unsurprisingly so, for the second week in a row. And, it's not very good. it's a Despicable Me movie.
It
has Minions. It has Gru. It has all the things your kids would want. And there's the Minions make me laugh, right?
Banana.
But, I mean, there's no substance in this
of course
movie
not.
at all. It's definitely a bunch of ideas that are just kind of thrown at the wall, and they're like, "Here's how we can make this into a movie." It's more of just a series of ideas rather than a plot that really works. Will Ferrell voices the villain here, who's a guy that has turned himself into like a half cockroach monster so that he's indestructible.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that it sounds like it should be pretty good, and it's pretty okay. Okay to bad at times, I would say. But the Minions were there. My wife, or my daughter, I should say, was laughing.
That's all that matters. Sounds like a good family movie.
Yeah. So, is what it is. Despicable Me 4. I'm not going to give more time to it than that. I mean, what more is there to say?
Hey, that's fine, and that's all for our fresh movies of the week. I guess we're going to jump straight to fresh TV, and we'll start off with something we both watched. We've been covering this week by week. House of the Dragon's newest episode came out, and it was fire. I liked it. How'd you like it, Drew?
I liked it too. I mean, the thing is, in any other show, this is what would be described as a filler episode, right? But even a filler episode in House of the Dragon has a lot of substance. It has filler episode's probably not the right term for this.
This episode was a lot of exposition, a lot of getting ready for the action of the next episode, and
it's dealing with the fallout of what came before and setting up for what's to come.
Yeah, it's an in-between episode,
but
what it set up for, I'm extremely excited for. We won't get too deep into spoilers, but the last episode, some crazy stuff happened with some dragon fights. We lost some characters, we lost some dragons. This episode, we were dealing with that. we'll say.
Yeah, and I guess we didn't really get to talk about the last episode either because we didn't record.
We
we recorded before it had aired too.
We didn't.
And not to rehash on old things, but I'll say that episode kind of an all-timer for Game of Thrones. Like, not even just for House of the Dragon. That to me, that's an all-timer for Game of Thrones franchise.
That was a fantastic episode of any Game of Thrones season. Absolutely, I will agree.
I feel like we got the dragon battles we've been wanting to get since the inception of the show.
Yeah.
Not just this show. Again, Game of Thrones, too. Like, all of it.
Yeah, we've seen a little dragon on dragon action before. This was the first true Dragon Rider versus Dragon Rider fight. And it was even better than I could hope for. Like, because, you hear about the Targaryens, they're feared dragon riders, blah, blah, blah. You see them all sitting on cushions and talking and having court the whole time. You never see them as these fearsome dragon riders. And this is the episode where several of them show you that, holy crap, they're not just all talk. These people are crazy and brave and incredible warriors. It's really cool, man. And that episode left me in awe as well.
And with the new stuff, it's just anytime Aemond Targaryen is on screen, I'm in. Like, I'm glued.
He's such a good villain, dude.
Yeah, he's fantastic. So, and the thing I like about this show, I know there's a lot of viral TikToks and things of moments from Game of Thrones and Joffrey talking and telling the story of what happens in House of the Dragon and things like that. But what I really like about this show is even in the book that this is based off, that's essentially like a history text. Sometimes there's things that are like a line in the book that this show is able to totally capitalize on and show a lot of detail around. But there's also details that are vague, and the show provides new context and things. I don't think they're going to rewrite the history in this show, but it's almost, they can mess with your expectations a little bit, which I think is really neat.
I think it's
even
good.
The people that know the history front and back and are huge fans, that they're going to find things to enjoy here and the context behind it. So I'm like, even in a few episodes ago when Rhaenyra and Alicent meet face to face for the first time in a while in a secretive way, like, that's not in the book. People didn't know that was going to happen, and it was a great moment in the TV show in this season. I think that was in episode 3. You said it best, John. House of the Dragon's fire.
House of the Dragon, absolutely fire. Stay tuned for more on that, hopefully next week. So Certified Fresh, watch House of the Dragon. The next thing I'll talk about The Boys, also dumping fresh episodes every week. This past episode, a lot of things came to light. A lot of those tenuous alliances and mutually assured destruction pacts and all that stuff came to fruition this episode. Spies were revealed, soup battles happened, and some pretty funny moments, as you can expect, and some pretty shocking revelations. So yeah, The Boys is still amazing. And my boy, The Deep, is one of the funniest characters I've ever seen on any show ever. And when I say my boy, obviously this guy's a piece of shit and a monster. And, like, I don't condone anything he does, but holy crap, that character, like, is great. He's comedic gold. What a piece of shit. But yeah, so The Boys, absolutely certified fresh. Watch that. That is on Prime. And then, I believe this is also on Prime. This is the last thing I watched. Have you ever seen the movie Sausage Party, Drew?
I have. I saw it, unsurprisingly, in theaters.
I saw it in theaters as well. Unfortunately...
That is the only time I've seen it. I've not revisited it. I feel like I enjoyed it and I laughed a lot, but I got what I needed out of my theatrical experience of Sausage Party and have not felt the need to go back to it.
Unfortunately, I watched that movie in theaters with my mother, along with my girlfriend and my younger brother.
What a flex.
And he brought a friend as well. So my mom brought my little brother and a friend of his to this movie. We're all adults, but, like, holy crap. Watching that movie with your mother is
when did that
tough.
movie come out?
It was a while ago.
Because your brother is younger than you.
He's quite a bit younger, yeah. But he was in high school. So
I was going to say, how old would he have been in 2016? That's when the movie came out.
he was at least 18. Yeah, no, he was either 17 or 18. Yep.
He was of
17 or 18.
legal age to be able to go see a rated R movie, but still not of age where
But
it
still
would be
wholly
embarrassing to see that.
where it
movie
wouldn't be
with your
embarrassing to
parent.
see with your mother. Yeah, dude, because the food orgy in that episode or in that movie was pretty intense. So, anyways, there's a show now that nobody asked for called Sausage Party Foodtopia. It popped on, and I watched the first episode just so I could talk about it here for you guys. You're welcome. But holy crap. This show, it takes place after the events of the movie. Food has come to life, and they have used bath salts to break down the dimensions between humans and food so that they can fight each other. There's been a war against humans waged by the food. The food has won this war and has now inherited the earth mostly, or at least seemingly. For our knowledge, that's the premise here. And then, after they explain all this through speeches and war memorials, they have immediately in the beginning of the show a gigantic hardcore food orgy. So it's more of the same from the movie. If you're expecting anything else, don't. It's the movie again. But there were some genuinely funny moments. There were some interesting plot points. It wasn't terrible if you can stomach the over-the-top sexual nature of the show. It's not something I would say don't watch. It wasn't terrible. It was better than Velma, that's for sure. And yeah,
It's not a high bar.
it's not a high bar, but it was better. I don't know. I was entertained. It was just, I feel like a lot of adult entertainment falls into the pitfall of being too raunchy for its own good, and it just becomes unenjoyable, you know? But it was interesting. There was some funny plot points. It was funny, but, you know, I'm not going to certify this fresh.
I assume these are like, what, 20-minute episodes?
Yeah, it was like 25 minutes. You know, they were short little episodes, bite size, haha, pun intended, and it was fine. I'm not going to certify it fresh. It is fine to watch. Don't watch it with your kids. It's also fine to pass if this isn't your cup of tea. So yeah, that's Sausage Party Foodtopia. Take it or leave it. It is what it is. And that's it for Fresh
Fair
TV.
enough.
It looks like we actually did manage to get in on some game time this week.
Yeah, we have a lot of games.
Yeah, we have quite more than usual for sure. You know what? I'm going to jump in here. I haven't done this in a long time, but I picked up a game and I played it all the way through in this past week. It is a game that is free on Game Pass, Journey to the Savage Planet. It has a level of humor that's very much like Squanch Games kind of style humor. Like it's not quite that raunchy, but it does have this deep humor that permeates the whole game. It is a first-person game where you're exploring, you're doing some platforming. You have a plasma pistol, and you're exploring this alien world, trying to do research and discover a power source that's at the base of this alien tower. It has some engaging boss battles, some fun platforming sequences, a good amount of upgrades.
Is this a linear game? I always thought this was like a survival game.
No,
Is it more like it has a linear storyline?
Yeah, it has a linear storyline. This is not. Yeah, it's not a. It's not like No Man's Sky at all. It's straight up. You land on this planet. You're sent here to explore it. You get these really funny live action update videos from your boss. It's like acted live action style, and there's also a lot of commercials that are live action that are hilarious. If you ever get a chance to go check out just the commercials, give it a shot. This game is great. I loved it. I couldn't put it down. Journey to the Savage Planet, certified fresh for sure, free on Xbox Game Pass. I had a lot of fun. I was laughing, and I was fully engaged in this very entertaining game. So check it out, Journey to the Savage Planet. I recommend it.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you? What you been playing?
I guess we can go back and forth.
Yeah, go back and
will. I'll just do. I only have two, but I'll just go through them back to back because one is short. One, I just want to say, We're recording this on Tuesday. Yesterday, those that paid for the deluxe edition of EA Sports College Football 2025 got 3-day early access. I did so. I was playing it a little bit yesterday. It's the first college football NCAA licensed game to come out in 11 years. So people that are football game fans, this is a big one. And so far it's really fun. I'm really enjoying it. I'm doing you can create your own player, and you start as a high school recruit and choose kind of what your background is, where you come from, and who your colleges are, and if you want to go to a big school and be a third stringer, or do you want to go to a small ass school and be like the first stringer. I made a quarterback, and I'm at Kennesaw State, and man, we are really bad, but I'm leading them to victory with my created player. In the dreams of maybe transferring to a better school soon, or and making my way to the NFL. So I've had a fun start to that game. Plan to play some dynasties with some friends over on PS5, but I've only dabbled with it because it just became available yesterday. But I just wanted to mention it because it's a highly anticipated game from sports fans. So that's EA Sports College Football 25.
That's pretty cool. But I'm not a big sports game guy, but I do appreciate these sort of RPG, starting at the bottom and working your way up, dynasty style sports games. So those can be fun even for me.
And also, we all know Madden, and I've played many a Madden, and I haven't bought Madden in a couple of years because I was buying them every year, and it just felt like it was always the same with just little updates. So I was like, I need a break from Madden. And playing college football, it's like, it really feels like different from Madden. You're not playing as, Tom Brady's retired, but you're not playing as, Lamar Jackson. You're not playing as Josh Allen. You're not playing as these NFL leading quarterbacks. You're playing as like a grassroots, young blue chip football player. And it feels that way. It's a little bit more raw, but also it's about the atmosphere, right? Like you're playing in college arenas with the band playing and the percussion, and it's just a total different atmosphere from playing an NFL football game in professional stadiums. You're playing in college stadiums, and it's just a different vibe, and the atmosphere in the game is done really well. So I'm enjoying it just in the little bit I've played. But the big one that I want to talk about, and I mean, this is crazy, Jahan, but Alan Wake 2, right? This game came out, I think, back in the fall of 2023. It's been out for a while. It was nominated for a ton of game awards,
including Game of the Year,
Best Narrative and Best Game. Yeah, it was nominated for Game of the Year. It got great reviews all around. I picked it up in a sale a few months ago, but just had yet to play it. And this is one where, have you played the first Alan Wake?
Yeah, I played. I didn't beat it, but okay. Yeah, I played quite a bit of it and its spin-off games.
So I played Alan Wake, the original, when it first came out, I think in 2010, I think that sounds right. And at the time I played it and beat it and I liked it, but I hadn't revisited it since, and they did make a remastered version of the first Alan Wake. And I started playing it a few months ago. I maybe made it halfway through the game before I put it down, and I just couldn't get into it despite having beaten it and liked it before. If you don't know, if you haven't played Alan Wake, you play as a writer, and who you've written this book, and things are kind of coming true from your book in real time, and you're finding pages of a book that you've written that you don't even remember writing, but the pages are kind of interfering with reality, I'd say. And the mechanics of the game is it's mostly dark, and you're walking around the forested areas with a flashlight, and the villains are all kind of shadows that you shine your flashlight at them until they become more solid, I would say, and then you can shoot them, and that's it. And it's kind of a limited resources game. You have limited ammo for your guns, you have limited batteries for your flashlight, and that's kind of the mechanics of the first game. And when replaying it, I just felt like it was very samey. You're just constantly going through forests. There weren't enough new environments, at least in the half that I played, and I was like, okay, I kind of get it. But I finally, the other day, I was looking for a new game to play. I was like, I'll play Alan Wake 2. And man, it is blowing me away. It is capitalizing on everything that the first game did right, but the story is incredible. The gameplay elements are fantastic. I have not talked about a game in a long time that I really wanted to gush over, and currently this is the one. This one's doing it for me. You play as two different characters. You play as Saga Anderson, who's a female FBI agent, and you switch back and forth as you progress through the game between her and Alan Wake.
Is she the main
Saga's
character of Control?
No, she is not.
Oh, okay, because I know the games are connected, but yeah.
Yeah. No, but Saga's an FBI agent. It starts off with you investigating an extremely gritty murder and the cult that's behind it, and then you start realizing how this kind of intertwines with Alan Wake's story from the first game. Alan Wake, who in the story of the game has been missing for 13 years, kind of stuck in like the dark realm, which is how the last game ended. And it's about how Saga, how her story gets wrapped up with what happened to Alan Wake, and it's crazy. So you're kind of doing an investigation as her and playing in the dark realm as Alan, and they're very different atmospheres. But what's fascinating is like when you're Saga, you're an FBI agent, and if you press the select button, right, or the menu button, like to pause, you essentially go to another space in the game. You go to like the mind room. It looks like she's in an FBI office.
Yeah.
And when you're in the office, that's where you can go and put all the clues together and things that you found and make leaps in your cases and profile the people you've talked to.
Oh, cool.
And that's all in the pause button. Like it's all there. And when you're as Alan, you go to like a writing room and you can use different plot elements to change the atmosphere around you, or the actual level where you're at. It's fascinating gameplay. It's actually hard to describe it. You have to just play it to experience it. But this game is blowing me away. I'm like, man, the hype on this one was real. I was kind of reluctant to play it because replaying the first one, I was like, I'm not that into this. It is one of the better single player narrative games I've played in a long time. That's
that high good. Praise, man. That's pretty cool. So yeah, no, I had a similar thing because I also I heard about the hype of this game, so I played Alan Wake in preparation, and like it was fun, but I couldn't get that into it either, and because like yeah, it's repetitive kind of gameplay, but this, holy crap, you're painting a hell of a picture here. So it sounds like this is a very interesting game that I should try.
Like, I genuinely think you could get away with read the Wikipedia page for the first Alan Wake game and what happened in that game to familiarize yourself with the story, and then just jump into this one. Like this one just I could never go back to the first game having played the second one. It is so good, and even some of the combat is the same as the first one, but just everything about the mechanics of it, they've made it so much better. The enemies feel way more intimidating. Just everything feels more visceral. It's so good. It's so good. I haven't felt this way about a single player game in quite a while.
Yeah.
I think especially because my expectations were low, and it has blown me away. Like when Spider-Man 2 came out, I knew what that was going to be, and I was excited for it, and I'd say it matched the expectations I had for it, which were very high. But this one, because I wasn't expecting it, just completely bowled me over. So good.
Hell yeah, Alan Wake 2. I'll check it out because it sounds great. Absolutely. That's all your games. I played a couple more, not quite as much as Journey to the Savage Planet, but I feel like they're worth mentioning. I started playing a game called Still Wakes the Deep. This is also free on Game Pass. It is a first-person atmospheric horror game that takes place on a oil rig that accidentally drills too deep, and they uncover something. At first, this game was it had a lot of story I wasn't really caring about too much. It was setting up characters, blah, blah, blah. It takes place, like, everyone's Scottish. They all have the accent. They're all talking. You're getting to know them, like, on a personal level. And you're going around, you're sort of fixing things here and there as you're making your way to your boss's office to get chewed out. And they build this atmosphere. But then it starts to feel more real. You start to care about these people just a little bit. Just a little bit. And then, boom, a bunch of stuff goes crazy. And you're on a damaged oil rig. And you have to make your way through it to try to help people that are hurt and all this other stuff. And while that's happening, you start realizing something's wrong. Something supernatural has happened here. And then the horror begins. And let me tell you, man, this was one of those games where I was like I didn't play too much of it, but I got to this part. You're walking through water tanks, and there's something in there with you, and it got me, man. I was scared. I was like, oh man, this is creepy. It did it. It is free on Game Pass. It's a very well done atmospheric horror game. Check it out. Still Wakes the Deep. Worth the price of admission here. It is definitely something that got my goat a little bit here. The other game that's also free on Game Pass, Neon White. This game, it's an interesting game. It is very much in an anime style. It is a first-person puzzle parkour platform shooter. That's, I guess, how you would describe it. You're running through this level. The story is you're a neon. You are specifically neon white. And neons are people condemned to hell that have been given a chance at redemption from the forces of heaven by engaging in the war against demons. So you are a condemned man, neon white, who you have to kill demons in order to get into heaven, kind of thing. That's the story here. It's very anime, incredibly anime. In fact, there's an inappropriate student-teacher relationship in this game. It's very much that anime. So, that's not the best. But hey, this game, it has pretty interesting, sort of different gameplay than a lot of stuff that's out there right now. It is free on Game Pass. It's one of those where you're running through the course trying to beat your best time. You switch between weapons. Weapons have active skills and then discard abilities where, like, when you throw one gun, it'll make you jump higher. And you have to navigate this level using these different puzzle mechanics, essentially, to try to find the best way through. It's different, it's engaging, and it is pretty fun. I think it's worth checking out. Wasn't my favorite game of all time, but it's at least fresh, So Neon White, worth checking out if you got Game Pass for sure. Final game. This is a free game on Steam. Dark and Darker. This is a fantasy extraction first-person game. So an extraction game is where you go into like a dungeon with other PCs. Usually you're on a team with some people and enemies with others, and you're trying to, essentially do some D&D style dungeoneering while not getting killed by other players, and then get out of there alive with your loot. And so they have like 9 different classes, everything that you would expect from typical D&D classes, so like clerics, wizards, druids, warlocks, all that stuff. It's parties of 3. This game has a very well done load screen where you can party up. You get your 3. You're sitting at a tavern table while you guys are getting ready. It has a good party system. And it was just fun. It's a free game. I think it's worth checking out for sure. I certify it fresh. I had a blast playing it with my friends. Dark and Darker. Recently back on Steam from being booted off for legal reasons. So it's back, baby. Check it out, Dark and Darker.
Good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, we did some fresh stuff this week. I had a good time. Fresh picks of the week is all that's left. So what about you? What was your favorite thing you did this week, Drew?
Hey, it's the most recent thing I talked about, but Alan Wake 2 is my fresh pick of the week. I mean, I just gushed over it, and despite having watched a lot of movies and some, House of the Dragon, some things I'm really liking, nothing caught me off guard to the degree that Alan Wake 2 with how much I'm vibing with it and enjoying it. So, man, what a great game. You can catch it's been out long enough now. You can catch it in a sale. It's not on Game Pass or anything. I think I was able to purchase it for like $40 or something.
It's not bad.
But even as a full-priced $70 game, it's worth it. Like, now in hindsight, I would have paid $70 for this game. It's so good. So, yeah, I recommend it. Just keep an eye out if you want to wait for a sale or pick it up. It's great.
High praise indeed. My fresh pick is not something I actually talked about because it is a game that's been out. It's just what I enjoyed the most this week. I've been playing Dragon Age Inquisition for the first time. I bought it a long time ago in a sale, reinstalled it, and man, I'm getting really into it. I wanted to play it because Dreadwolf is coming out, and there's a lot of hype behind that. And so I wanted to kind of go through the story of Inquisition here. I'm really liking it. I love the combat's fine. It's not the most complicated fantasy role-playing combat I've ever seen. It's not the most crunchy. But what I really like is the organizational stuff where you have to command and control the organization that is the Inquisition. That's really a lot of fun for me. And managing the relationships. It's a very fun game. it's what I enjoyed the most this week. Check out Dragon Age Inquisition. Definitely available on sale often, so check it out. But hey, man, that was great. We do cool stuff all the time because we're awesome. That was Fresh Out the Podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I am the Board Game Guru and Game Master Extraordinaire Johananon. You can also catch me being the Game Master of Fresh Out the Box. That is our TTRPG channel, where we play games from Green Ronin Publishing, Modivius Entertainment, and others. Shout out to Parable Games. Their current Kickstarter of their solo mech RPG is out now. The name eludes me for whatever reason, but go check it out. I already looked at it. It's very fun. Can't wait to do some content on that. So yeah, everybody, check out that stuff. And that's it. That's me. I'm John.
And I'm the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen. You can catch me on Twitter at Drew Munhausen, over in Letterboxd, logging the movies I'm watching. And I just wanted to say, Jahan, this is episode 130, and I was just looking because I knew it was coming up, but episode 1 of Fresh Out the Podcast was actually posted on July 19th, 2021. And this episode will officially post in podcast feeds likely on July 17th. So we're just a couple days away from our 3-year anniversary of doing the pod. You mentioned doing Fresh Out the Box for almost, around 4 years. We've been doing the pod for 3 years. So thanks for 3 years of podcasting here and Fresh Out the Podcast, for more than 130 episodes, because we've done some special episodes that weren't numbered. So there's been a lot, and we're gonna keep cranking stuff out.
Hell
we're gonna
yeah,
keep cranking it.
Keep cranking it. Fresh out the box style. Yeah, no, man, thanks for 3 years, man. Wouldn't change it for everything. It's been a blast. So I'm looking forward to continuing on this podcast journey with my buddy Drew here. So yeah, everybody, thanks for listening, and stay fresh.